On the day Anne's brother told me to be a man, I had already been one for 3 weeks. He just didn't understand what that meant yet. But he would. They all would. It started on a Friday, February 11th, 7:20 inches the morning. The kind of morning that doesn't feel important. No warning. No tension. Just quiet. Anne had left her old phone charging on the kitchen table overnight. She said she needed it for backup. That was it. No story. No hesitation. And I didn't question it. Because when you trust someone completely, you don't audit their explanations. I came downstairs half awake, poured coffee, sat at the table, and reached for the closest thing to me. The phone. Not because I was suspicious. Not because I was looking. Just because it was there. The screen lit up instantly. No passcode. The iCloud restore had finished sometime during the night. Everything was there. Message, photos, history, and in the next 4 minutes, my entire life quietly fell apart. At first, my brain didn't understand what it was seeing. It tried to reframe it. Out of context. Old conversations. Something explainable. But there's a moment when the mind stops protecting you, stops filtering, stops negotiating with reality, and just hands you the truth. Raw, unedited. Final. The messages loaded slowly. One, then another, then dozens. I read the first one, then the next. Then I stopped counting. 11 months. That's how long it had been going on. 11 months of messages between my wife and my business partner, Mike, the same man who sat in the third row at my wedding, crying, not politely, not casually, actually crying. He put his hand on my shoulder that night and said, "Derek, I've never seen two people more right for each other." That man. I didn't move. Not for an hour. My coffee went cold. I didn't notice. I read everything, every message, every plan, every afternoon they met while I was in Chicago. That's the part that stayed with me. Not just what they did, but when they did it. 11 months ago, I was living out of a suitcase, flying back and forth every week, sometimes staying gone for days at a time, building a new branch for the company, building something I thought was ours. While I was building that future, they were building something else, a second life, and they called it love. At 8:30, I heard Anne's alarm go off upstairs. The sound cut through everything. Water running, cabinet doors opening, footsteps across the floor. Normal sounds. Routine sounds. That's the strangest part of betrayal. Nothing around it changes. The world doesn't pause. The house doesn't go quiet. Life keeps moving, like nothing happened. Here she comes, I thought, and that's when I made the first real decision. Don't move. Don't react. Don't let it show. She came downstairs, hair slightly messy, still waking up, the same way she had for 4 years. "Derek, you're still home?" I looked up at her, really looked, and for the first time, I saw her without the story I had built around her. "Just tired," I said. "Didn't sleep well." She nodded. Walked to the coffee machine. "You want me to make a fresh pot?" Same voice. Same tone. Same softness. She moved through the kitchen like she always did. Unhurried. Comfortable. Completely at ease. "What do you want for dinner tonight?" I paused for half a second. "Surprise me." She smiled. I smiled back. That was the last normal conversation we ever had. She just didn't know it yet. People think moments like this explode. They imagine shouting, glass breaking, doors slamming, but that's not what happened. What I felt wasn't rage. It was grief. Not loud. Not dramatic. Quiet. Heavy. The kind that settles into your chest and stays there. Because the person you lost is still standing right in front of you. Still cooking in your kitchen. Still sleeping beside you. Still asking what you want for dinner. And acting like nothing in the world is wrong. That's what breaks you. Not the betrayal. The normalcy after it. So I created a system. Every night, after Anne fell asleep, I went outside. Sat in my truck. Lights off. Engine off. Just me. And the dark. And I gave myself exactly 15 minutes. 15 minutes to feel everything. The anger. The humiliation. The The realization that while I was sacrificing time, comfort, presence, they were using my absence as an opportunity. 15 minutes. Timer on my phone. Then I shut it off and went back inside because I had work to do. 3 weeks. 3 weeks of silence. 3 weeks of normal mornings, normal dinners, normale conversation. While inside, everything had changed. I wasn't reacting anymore. I was watching, listening, learning, and slowly becoming someone else. Then March 2nd arrived, Sunday night. The Avalanche game was on. I had been looking forward to it all week. Anne walked in, picked up the remote, turned the TV off. I need to tell you something. I leaned back slightly, looked at her. I know, I thought. I've known for 3 weeks. But what I said was, okay. She was already crying. That told me everything. Not just what she was about to say, but how she expected this to go. I made a mistake, she said. A terrible mistake. 11 months is not a mistake. A mistake is forgetting something. A mistake is saying the wrong thing. 11 months is a decision, repeated, daily. But I let her talk, because this wasn't about what she said. It was about what came next. Then she said it. I'm pregnant. 3 months. Not mine. And that's when everything became clear. This wasn't confession. This was timing. The calendar had run out. How long have you known? I asked. She blinked. What? The pregnancy. A pause. Small, but loud enough. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. She had known for 6 weeks. 6 weeks of dinners. 6 weeks of conversations. 6 weeks of looking me in the eyes and saying nothing. I nodded. Slowly. Let the silence sit between us. Okay, I said. I need some time to think. She broke down harder, and in that moment, I saw it. She thought this was the beginning of forgiveness. She thought my calm meant weakness. She thought I was about to collapse into the version of me that would make this easier for her. She was wrong. 4 days later, her entire family showed up at my door. And that's when the real story began. Because what they saw was a man trying to decide what to do. But what they didn't know was that I had already decided. 3 weeks ago, sitting alone, in the dark, with a timer on my phone, and everything after that was just execution. They came into my house like they were here to fix something. Like this was a misunderstanding. Like this was still a situation that could be managed. Her mother sat across from me first, hands folded neatly in her lap, soft eyes, measured tone. Derek, you're a good man. That's always how it starts. Not with truth, not with accountability, with positioning. This situation is painful. We all understand that. She paused, carefully choosing the next sentence. But the child is innocent. I nodded. I agree. That wasn't the answer she expected. She blinked, just slightly, like her script had slipped out of alignment, because she came prepared for resistance, for anger, for something she could push against. But calm is hard to fight, so she adjusted. Anne needs support right now. I leaned back in my chair, not defensive, not aggressive, just listening. Then her brother spoke. Terence. He didn't bother with softness, didn't believe in it. Look, man, he said, arms folded. I'm just going to be straight with you. Please, I said. You stay. He continued. You work through this. You're the bigger man. He paused. Let it land. You leave? Another pause. You're just another guy who couldn't handle pressure. There it was. Not advice. Not support. A narrative. And they needed me to step into it. I nodded slowly, like I was considering it, like I hadn't already made every decision that mattered. Yeah, I said quietly. I need to think about what kind of man I want to be. He leaned back, satisfied, because from his perspective, that was progress. From mine, it was confirmation. Because what none of them understood, what none of them even considered, was that they weren't talking to a man in crisis. They were talking to a man in control. 3 days after I found the messages, I sat across from a woman who didn't care about my feelings. Helen Spencer. Family law. She didn't tilt her head, didn't offer sympathy, didn't say, I'm sorry. She just picked up a pen, How long ago did you find out? 3 days. Have you confronted her? No. That made her look up. Good. Not comforting. Not warm. Effective. Then she said something that changed everything. Stop talking. Start documenting. That was the moment the shift happened. Not when I found the messages. Not when Anne confessed. Here. This was where I stopped reacting and started building. I went home and opened everything. Bank statements, business records, expense logs, contracts. Mike and I built that company together. From nothing, but I handled the numbers. And numbers don't care about emotions. They don't lie. They don't soften. They don't explain themselves. They just sit there, waiting for someone to read them properly. It didn't take long. At first, it looked small. Ipai bashimayuan, lambai sushimayuan, lambai ishimayuan. Normal amounts. Easy to ignore, but patterns are where truth hides. Every month, same type of charge. Client entertainment. I pulled the calendar, cross-referenced every date. Every single charge matched a day Mike had marked. Off-site meeting. We didn't have that many off-site meetings. I kept going. One page, then another, 22 transactions, 11 months. Every single one tied to a day I wasn't there. That's when it clicked. This wasn't just betrayal. This was funded betrayal. Paid for. Structured. Repeated. And then I found something else. Buried inside a document I hadn't looked at in years. Our partnership agreement, page 14, section C. One paragraph. One clause. If either partner used company resources for personal misconduct, the other partner could trigger immediate dissolution and assume control. Not half. Everything. I read it twice, then a third time, just to make sure I wasn't seeing what I wanted to see. I wasn't. When I brought it to Helen, she didn't smile, but she leaned back slightly and said, "Derek, this is clean." Clean. That word mattered more than anything else, because this wasn't about revenge. This was about precision. From that point on, everything became simple, not easy, but clear. I didn't confront Mike, didn't call him, didn't give him a chance to explain, because explanations are just delays. And I wasn't interested in delays. I was interested in outcomes. So I built the file, printed everything, organized it, color-coded tabs, dates, cross-references. Not emotional, not dramatic, professional. Because nothing destroys a man faster than being exposed in a language he can't argue with. Facts. The day I sent the notice, I didn't feel anger. I didn't feel satisfaction. I felt quiet, because the decision had already been made. This was just the moment it became real. Certified mail, office address, home address, simultaneous delivery. No warning, no conversation, no space to react, just impact. He called me 4 times that day. I watched my phone light up. Each time, didn't answer once. Then a text. "Derek, come on, man. We can talk about this." I read it, then put my phone face down. Because some people don't deserve closure. They deserve consequences. Back in my living room, Anne's family was still talking, still explaining, still guiding me toward the version of myself they needed. And I sat there, calm, agreeable, listening, because they thought this was happening in real time. They thought I was deciding. They thought this moment mattered. But it didn't. Not anymore. Because while they were talking, I had already moved past them, past the argument, past the betrayal, into something else entirely. Control. And the difference between a man reacting and a man executing is timing. They were early. I was already finished. And soon, they were going to understand exactly what that meant. I didn't expose everything at once. That would have been easy. Fast. Messy. And I wasn't interested in messy. I was interested in control. So I did something most people don't have the patience to do. I slowed it down, and I made sure every single person saw the truth. At the exact moment, they could no longer ignore it. I started with her mother. We met at a coffee shop, Tuesday morning. Quiet. Neutral ground. I arrived early, ordered 2 coffees, sat down with the folder in front of me. When she walked in, she smiled. The same polite smile she had in my living room days earlier. The smile of someone who still believed. This situation could be guided. Fixed. She sat down. Derek. I didn't respond. I just slid the folder across the table. No explanation. No setup. Just evidence. She looked at it, hesitated, then opened it. The first page didn't hit. Not fully. The second page slowed her down. By the third, she stopped breathing normally. Her eyes moved differently now. Not reading. Processing. What is this? She asked quietly. I leaned forward slightly. I highlighted the dates. She looked down again. Hands tighter now. This one, I said, tapping lightly. That weekend Anne told you she was visiting a friend. A pause. You texted me asking if she arrived safely. She nodded slowly. She was in a hotel. Another pause. With Mike. Silence. Not the kind you break. The kind that builds pressure. I turned another page. This one. March. She borrowed money from you. Her jaw tightened. Said it was for car repairs. I let that sit. It was a watch. For him, that was the moment. You could see it. The shift. Not from doubt to belief. From narrative to reality. I closed the folder. Pushed it back toward her. I'm not telling you this to turn you against your daughter. I paused. She's still your daughter. But you sat in my house and told me to accept something you didn't fully understand. She didn't respond because there was nothing left to say. Her brother was different. He came in ready to argue. Of course he did. That's who he is. We sat down. He leaned forward immediately. Look, man, relationships are complicated. I put the folder on the table. I'm not here to argue. That stopped him. I'm here to show you something. He opened it. First page. Dismissive. Second page. Less confident. Third page. Silence. His posture changed. Subtle, but real. The kind of shift a man makes when the ground under his argument disappears. I let him sit with it. Then I spoke. You told me something. He didn't look up. You said if I left, I'd be a man who couldn't handle pressure. Now he looked at me. I leaned forward slightly. Tell me, who walked away from this family? No anger. No volume. Just a question. He didn't answer. He couldn't. Because for the first time, he wasn't arguing with me. He was arguing with facts. And facts don't negotiate. I didn't meet everyone. Didn't need to. Some people don't require a full explanation. They just need enough truth to feel uncomfortable. And truth has a way of spreading. Quietly, within 2 weeks, everything changed. The story Anne had built for 11 months collapsed. Not because I attacked it, but because I removed the lies holding it up. And without lies, there's nothing left to stand on. The divorce was finalized. Clean. No drama. No chaos. Just signatures. And silence. I didn't lose anything, except the version of reality that was never real to begin with. I started over. New company. My name on the door. No partner. No shared control. No one else with access to what I built. Clients came with me, not because I asked, because they knew who actually did the work, who actually showed up. Within 3 months, we were growing faster than before, not because I was trying to prove something, but because I wasn't carrying anything anymore. And here's the part people always get wrong. Anne and Mike stayed together, at least on paper, because when you remove the secret, you remove the energy. No more hidden messages, no more stolen time, no more thrill, just 2 people sitting across from each other, knowing exactly what the other is capable of. That kind of truth doesn't build love. It exposes it. Months later, her mother called me. I almost didn't answer. Derek, a pause. I owe you an apology. You don't have to, I said. Yes, I do. Her voice was different now. Not guiding. Not certain. Honest. I told you to accept something I didn't understand. I let that sit. I showed you because you deserved the full picture. Not to hurt her. Not to win. Just truth. We talked for a few minutes. Nothing heavy. Then the call ended. I stood in my kitchen for a while after that. Quiet. Not empty. Just Mina. And that's the part nobody explains to you. Winning doesn't feel loud. It doesn't feel like revenge. It feels like silence. Without weight. I don't hate Anne. What she did belongs to her now, not me, because carrying it would mean I never really left. And I did. A long time ago. Somewhere between the driveway, the 5-minute timer, and the moment I stopped reacting. If there's one thing I learned from all of this, it's this. You don't win by proving someone wrong. You win by removing yourself from what would destroy you. I didn't yell. I didn't beg. I didn't break. I got quiet. And I got to work. And in the end, that was enough.